It's the big power play in Punjab, and neither Captain Amarinder Singh nor Navjot Singh Sidhu is ready to blink. The Congress's truce formula is to elevate Sidhu to a key position within the party's Punjab unit. But the captain doesn't want that. As the showdown escalates, posters have come up in Ludhiana thanking the Congress High Command for making Sidhu the Punjab Congress chief. His supporters even distributed sweets outside Sidhu's Patiala residence. Will the Congress be able to placate both Sidhu and Amarinder? Or is the Punjab Congress now a ticking time bomb?
A festering feud and a truce that still looks a distant possibility. To quell the simmering crisis, the Congress top brass once again reached out to its disgruntled Neta Navjot Singh Sidhu. He was summoned by Congress President Sonia Gandhi herself to 10 Janpath in Delhi.
Sir, क्या आज आपकी मीटिंग है? Sir, Sidhu sir.
60 minutes. That's how long the meeting lasted. The details of the meet were kept a guarded secret. Sources in the party say Sidhu may be given a key responsibility in Punjab, but the party is unwilling to commit as of now.
बिल्कुल कौन कहता है? आप कृपा करके मेरे बयान को बहुत केयरफुली पढ़िए जो मैंने कहा है और शब्दों को समझिए. जब तक कांग्रेस प्रेसिडेंट बात को क्लियर नहीं करती है तब तक मुझे भी जानकारी इस बात की नहीं हो सकती है कि इनफैक्ट उनका लास्ट डिसीजन क्या होने जा.
Sidhu was summoned to Delhi following meetings by rival camps in Punjab. India Today has learnt Captain Amarinder Singh was upset over Sidhu's huddle with 5 ministers and 10 MLAs in Chandigarh on Thursday. As per sources, the captain complained to Congress's Punjab in charge Harish Rawat and party chief Sonia Gandhi. Sources say Amarinder alleged Sidhu was plotting to instigate a mass resignation by his supporting MPs and MLAs. The captain has also expressed his disapproval of Sidhu's possible elevation within the party on grounds of seniority.
अभी किसी ने कोई ऐसी नाराजगी कम्युनिकेट नहीं की है और यदि कहीं कुछ चीज़ों को लेकर के गलतफहमी होगी, कोई बात होगी, कहीं कम्युनिकेशन गैप दिखाई देगा तो मैं हूं ना उस काम के लिए. हम उस कम्युनिकेशन गैप को पाटने की कोशिश करेंगे.
Amarinder, when he met Sonia Gandhi last week, had given his word that he will abide by the High Command's decision.
जो फैसला कांग्रेस प्रेसिडेंट करेंगे as far as Punjab party is concerned or whatever other political activity, we are all geared up to take full action on जो भी वो चाहेंगे.
Punjab state unit leaders are hopeful that party leadership will be able to resolve the crisis before it does any irreparable damage ahead of the elections next year.
कांग्रेस में विवाद है ही नहीं है यार. किसने कहा है विवाद? ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है. ये परिवार का मसला है और दिल्ली भी हमारा परिवार है, यहाँ भी हमारा परिवार है. हम लोग बांट के इसको ठीक कर लेंगे. कोई दिक्कत नहीं.
कि हमारे परिवार का मसला है और जो हाई कमांड फैसला करेगी सबको मंजूर होगा.
For now, all eyes are on 10 Janpath. The battle of Sardars will be decided in Delhi.
Sidhu sir. Sidhu sir.
With inputs from Satyendra Chauhan and Manjeet Sehgal in Chandigarh and Anand Patel in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
So how is this battle likely to end? Will Captain Navjot Singh Sidhu and Amarinder Singh pad up and play together, or will Sherry insist on being on top and then will Captain rebel if that were to happen? The situation is very tricky, and the Congress party, as often is the case with the Indian cricket team, makes a match which was in their hands exciting, and now really nobody knows what will happen. For perspective, I'm joined on the broadcast by the man who started this fight, or at least brought it out in the public. Our own consulting editor, Rajdeep Sardesai. It was his interview with Harish Rawat that, brought this spark out into the open. It was simmering, but it wasn't out in the open, and now it is. Harmeet Shah Singh joins us. He's a senior editor at India Today TV, the one person who understands the ins and outs of Punjab politics more than anyone else in our newsroom. We have Ramesh Vinayak, executive editor of the Hindustan Times. Gurdeep Sappal is a spokesperson of the Congress party, back again, relishing the Congress's fissures and their problems. Raghav Chadda, MLA in Delhi, Punjab affairs in charge of the Aam Aadmi Party. Welcome, Raghav. Rajdeep, the Congress is fighting and you are responsible. You're the one who's got these two Sardars to fight out in the public. So far, they were fighting behind. You got Harish Rawat to give that interview. This entire show and this entire fight at this moment is your responsibility.
Not at all, Rahul. Not at all. Because the fact is that the battle between Captain Amarinder Singh and Navjot Singh Sidhu has been simmering for months, some would say for years. So I have no role at all to play in the politics of the Congress or any political party, Rahul. But what did happen is that I am told that a formula had almost been worked out.
So why did Harish Rawat say that?
Mr. Harish Rawat, senior Congress General Secretary from who's in charge of Punjab, former Uttarakhand Chief Minister, revealed to me in that interview that it was almost all done. And his exact words were, we will go into the election under the leadership of Captain Amarinder Singh. And I asked him, what about Mr. Sidhu? Will he be made PCC president? And he said, around that, we are trying to work something. So effectively, the message was that Mr. Sidhu was likely to become PCC president or something on those lines, and Captain would become the chief ministerial face in a way. And clearly, he used the word future leader. Navjot Singh Sidhu as a future leader. Now that has set the cat among the pigeons, because I think Captain Amarinder Singh is still unwilling to reconcile to Sidhu getting equal prominence as him at one level. And Sidhu, on the other hand, is also very clear that he is playing for PCC president and for becoming the successor to Amarinder Singh. So I think the problem exists in the Congress. It's nothing to do with us journalists. The problem exists in this political party, and the problem doesn't exist just in Punjab, Rahul. It exists in Delhi, because that's where the High Command has to take a decision. They haven't been able to take it, and they've allowed it to simmer for the last 5 weeks. This would have never happened. I've said this before to you, in the time of Indira Gandhi, because she would have said, off with their heads and let's get someone else. On the other hand,
she would have made Pratap Bajwa in charge.
You never know. But I think the present High Command has a consultative approach, tries to consult everyone. And both Captain Amarinder Singh and Sidhu, one realizes it's his last battle, and the other, since he's a military historian, he realizes what a last battle means, and the other realizes this is his big opportunity. And therefore, the Congress is unable to decide between the two in the only North Indian state, Rahul, where they are still in power.
Harmeet, you understand both these gentlemen at a deep level. Given the acrimony behind the cameras and what we've seen in public, is it at this moment possible for Amarinder Singh and Sidhu to work together, or will it be ek talwar, ek mayan, and one of them needs to leave soon?
I think it will be one talwar and one mayan wala issue. I mean, this is going to happen because, you see, as of now, yesterday, I mean, I saw the words truce, I saw the words some peace formula has been worked out. I thought that these words were just, like jumping the gun here. Because when it comes to Punjab, you don't get easy truce or you don't get easy solutions. That's number one thing in Punjab politics. Now, Congress High Command is no stranger to infighting. Remember, infighting happened during Gyani Zail Singh and Darbara Singh time, and back when Pratap Singh Karon was there. But now, this infighting which has taken place at this hour is really a cause of worry for the Congress party, because there is a farm agitation going on and there is a lot of disaffection with all parties, Congress included. Congress is not in that great shape what it was a couple of months or 3 or 4 months ago when municipal elections happened. It's in real bad shape because you see, I mean, even Congress ministers are out there. So it's a choice between an old war horse and an Arbi Ghoda, who is Navjot Singh Sidhu. So the Congress appears to be spreading its bets, but the real test will come when there is ticket distribution happening. And who will call the shots then? only then will we be able to know that, there is a real truce or there is an implosion.
Feeling that we may not even get to the ticket distribution stage, that there will be an explosion before that. And Gurdeep Sappal, once again in true Congress style, your party has gone and scored the most epic self-goal. This is the one state where a few months ago the Congress was very comfortably placed and you were in pole position to win once again. The Akalis and the BJP had split, AAP was on the margins. Suddenly it's the Congress which is imploding.
Well, Rahul, this is your assessment that there is an implosion, but that's not a fact.
So both your main leaders held a big show of strength yesterday where they called MLAs and ministers that they could round up. This is not my understanding. It's playing itself out in the public eye.
Words are very strong. They can convey a meaning. If I use the word aspiration instead of dissent, there's an entirely different story. Aspirations in politics is legitimate. There's no dissent. There's no demand that the Chief Minister should go. Captain Amarinder Singh is a senior leader. He's a towering leader of Punjab. He is the Chief Minister, and Mr. Navjot Singh Sidhu has some aspirations, and the party is doing its own work, trying to understand the entire thing, and Congress President will soon take a decision. That decision will be before everybody. There's no implosion happening here. You see, and Rajdeep said that 5 months. 5 months is not a big period in politics. If you want to see what a simmering issue is, just see at Karnataka. Karnataka and MLC said that the Chief Minister's son was involved in a scam of 21,473 crore rupees. The minister goes to governor.
So we'll come to Karnataka. We've dealt with Karnataka at great length on this channel, in this particular show,
Rahul,
and elsewhere. Just hold that. Hold that thought. Yes, the Karnataka BJP is a mess. And that's a royal spectacular mess. We've been dealing with it, but don't derail this conversation. Raghav Chadda, tell me honestly, how many boxes of laddu are you sending to Congress leaders for this fight that is making the AAP's task easier? And how do you think this battle will end? Are you really relishing what's happening and saying, okay, good, this makes my life easier?
Look, Rahul, from a political standpoint, since we are the principal challengers to Congress, we are the principal opposition by the sheer number of members of Legislative Assembly that we have. Yes, I would be, extremely pleased with the, very effective self-destruction mode that the Congress party is in. However, as somebody who comes from the state, as somebody who is a Punjabi at heart, I feel, very disappointed that the ruling party and the ruling dispensation of Punjab is in shambles, as a result of which governance in the state has suffered. Now, anyone who understands Punjab politics or the governance of Punjab will tell you that for the last 4 years, Captain Amarinder Singh's government did absolutely nothing. It was perhaps the most nikammi sarkar of all times that one has seen in the state of Punjab. However, as one thought, one was, as somebody who's been in politics, we often see governments perform in the last 1 year in the run-up to the elections. So one was hoping that at least in the last 1 year, they will do some welfare for the state of Punjab. But even in this last 1 year, what we are seeing is fight among 8 leaders. You may be mentioning only 2 people, Sidhu and Captain Saab. There are actually 8 chief ministerial aspirants at the highest level of the Congress party in the state of Punjab who are fighting among themselves. This fight is not for the insaf of Beadbi. This fight is not for, bringing back the farmers' pride or restoring the Punjab pride, etc. This fight is simply as to who becomes the next chief ministerial candidate.
Okay, Ramesh Vinayak, you're on the ground now in Punjab. What's your sense at this moment of how this fight is likely to end? Will there be a genuine truce between Captain Amarinder and Navjot Singh Sidhu? Is that at all possible at this stage still? Or is the Congress heading for an inevitable split?
Rahul, my sense is that the fact that this crisis is nowhere close to resolution, despite efforts by the High Command, it showed that how serious the rift is, and Congress is proving to be its own worst enemy. I mean, elections are just 6 months away, and here we have 2 very strong personalities, at daggers drawn, and nowhere close to the resolution of the whole issue. So I guess Congress seems to be losing the plot as of now. Until 4 months ago, Congress was well placed, Amarinder was in control, and I won't go into the performance aspect of the government, but Amarinder was firmly in the saddle. And certainly you see, he's at odds, loggerheads with Navjot Singh Sidhu, who we all know has an ambition to upstage Amarinder and position himself as, the face of Congress in 2022. But at the moment, I think Congress has scored a self-goal by
but if
not
you actually
being able
look at
to
Navjot Singh
reconcile
Sidhu's
the
track
differences
record,
between two
he
leaders.
is hugely popular, very charismatic, great speaker, but is a very difficult person to work with. So if you see his track record in the assembly and even before that, Navjot Singh Sidhu hasn't really come across as a very committed administrator, and that is a big problem. Rajdeep, if there was to be a choice, because it seems, at least to my mind, that at some point in time there will need to be, it's a tough choice, what should the Congress High Command decide and why?
Look, I can't sort of advise the Congress High Command.
No, what do you think is likely?
What's going to happen, Rahul. My sense is this is not a battle so much about today, it's a battle for the future. Who succeeds Captain? Captain is 79. He had said in 2017, he had told me in an interview, this is my last election. But clearly it's not. He wants to make this one last prestige fight. Sidhu is playing for who succeeds Captain Amarinder, right? The fact is, as you said, Sidhu is a bit of a loner. Sidhu doesn't have a camp as such of his own. But he is someone who has a bit of a mass connect. He's a popular leader. But that doesn't always necessarily translate into a huge mandate. We still don't know. He's an untested missile. And that's the fear at the moment.
I've got breaking news coming in. The breaking news is that Captain Amarinder Singh has shot off a terse letter to Sonia Gandhi, the Congress president, in which he is saying that the Congress High Command is interfering in the affairs of the Punjab government and Punjab politics, and that this is not okay. The High Command should understand the sensibilities and not interfere in administrative, party and government affairs. And if it does this, it is the party that will suffer as well as the government, and this is not good. We're also hearing that Punjab Congress, the General Secretary in charge of the state unit, Harish Rawat, will visit Chandigarh tomorrow to meet Captain Amarinder Singh. Satinder Chauhan joins us. He's breaking the story for us. Satinder, he's our bureau chief in Punjab. Satinder, what can you tell us about this letter? He's really seeming to up the ante, telling the High Command to back off. Don't interfere in Punjab, says Amarinder Singh.
देखिए राहुल, इसका मतलब साफ साफ है कि पंजाब में फिलहाल सब कुछ ठीक नहीं है और कांग्रेस आला कमान जिस फॉर्मूले की बात कर रहे हैं वो फॉर्मूला कहीं ना कहीं फेल हो चुका है। और ये दूसरी बार है जब कैप्टन अमरिंदर सिंह ने नाराज होकर चिट्ठी लिखी है और सूत्र ये भी बता रहे हैं कि कैप्टन अमरिंदर खासे नाराज हैं आला कमान से। और इस चिट्ठी में उन्होंने ये लिखा है कि अननेसेसरी इंटरफेरेंस कर रहा है कांग्रेस आला कमान पंजाब पॉलिटिक्स में, और ये पंजाब के टेरेन को हाई कमान को समझना चाहिए और इससे पंजाब सरकार, पंजाब राज्य और कांग्रेस पार्टी तीनों को नुकसान हो सकता है। तो कुल मिलाकर कैप्टन अमरिंदर सिंह ने अपने तेवर दिखाने शुरू कर दिए हैं। दूसरी बात ये बताना चाहूंगा राहुल, आज पटियाला, अमृतसर और चंडीगढ़ तीनों जगह पर ढोल नगाड़े बजने शुरू हो गए थे, बड़े बड़े होर्डिंग्स लग गए थे, लड्डू आ गए थे। लेकिन जैसे जैसे कैप्टन अमरिंदर सिंह ने नाराजगी भरी ये चिट्ठी लिखी, उसी वक्त दिल्ली में भी हलचल हुई और हरीश रावत को चंडीगढ़ भेजने का फैसला लिया गया। कुल मिलाकर नवजोत सिंह सिद्धू के समर्थक ये मानकर चल रहे थे कि आज देर शाम तक खुशखबरी आ जाएगी, सब कुछ ठीक हो जाएगा और नवजोत सिंह सिद्धू अध्यक्ष बन जाएंगे।
लेकिन how many MLAs and ministers will back Amarinder in your view, and how many are likely to back Sidhu?
देखिए, बिल्कुल क्लियर तस्वीर है। कल 2 शक्ति प्रदर्शन हुए। नवजोत सिंह सिद्धू के पक्ष में 4 कैबिनेट मंत्री, 4 विधायक खुलकर सामने आए, तो वहीं देर रात कैप्टन अमरिंदर सिंह ने डिनर किया और कैप्टन अमरिंदर सिंह ने 65 विधायकों का समर्थन हासिल कर लिया है। इसके अलावा जो स्टेट कांग्रेस की यूनिट है उसमें से ज्यादातर नेता कैप्टन अमरिंदर सिंह के फेवर में है और इसके अलावा बोर्डों चेयरमैन और जो कॉर्पोरेशंस है उनके लीडर्स भी कहीं ना कहीं कैप्टन अमरिंदर सिंह के फेवर में है। तो ये शो ऑफ स्ट्रेंथ जो पंजाब में चल रहा है फिलहाल, इसमें ऐसा लग रहा है कि 2 यूनिट बन गई है। एक फोर्स सेंटर है चंडीगढ़ का जहां पर कैप्टन अमरिंदर भारी पड़ रहे हैं, दूसरा सेंटर है पावर सेंटर दिल्ली जहां पर नवजोत सिंह सिद्धू डायरेक्ट एंट्री 10 जनपद में बार बार ले जाते हैं और वहां पर कैप्टन अमरिंदर सिंह नहीं पहुंच पा रहे हैं। तो 2 पावर सेंटर हो गए हैं, एक चंडीगढ़ जहां पर नंबर्स हैं, संख्या बल है, वो कैप्टन अमरिंदर सिंह के साथ है। दूसरी तरफ पार्टी हाईकमान है, वो कहीं ना कहीं नवजोत सिंह सिद्धू को लेकर कहीं ना कहीं उनके पक्ष में है और उनके प्रति लिबरल है। तो ये दोनों पावर सेंटर आने वाले दिनों में क्या रोल प्ले करेंगे?
Navjot Singh Sidhu at the expense of infuriating their only chief minister in North India. 65 MLAs, says Satinder. If you mess with Captain, he can take off. He will sink the Congress before this election begins.
Rahul, what did I start by saying? The problem is not just in Chandigarh, it's here in Delhi. The problem is a weakened high command no longer commands the kind of political and moral authority to rein in these 2 warring sardars. Look at the letter. Interference will hurt Punjab government. Could you have imagined a letter that a chief minister would write to your party leadership that you are interfering in the affairs of Punjab and trying to impose someone on us? Look at Manish Tiwari's tweet. Manish Tiwari, member of parliament, this morning tweets effectively suggesting that the Congress should never have a judge seek both as its party.
But that's true. You can't.
It's true, but openly, it's being said openly. Now, you could have said Manish Tiwari in the past would have gone perhaps to the Congress High Command and told this to the High Command. Now it's all open. It's out in the open because the High Command is so weakened and apparently sends contrarian signals. You have Priyanka Gandhi Vadra who spends time with Sidhu, photograph that Sidhu then plasters all over Punjab, suggesting he has the confidence of the High Command. When Amarinder came the first time, the Gandhi family didn't even meet him. What are the signals?
No, but Gandhi's had a good equation with Captain Amarinder Singh. Where did that go wrong?
Look, I still believe that even within the Gandhi family, you have got Sonia Gandhi, who's generally seen to be a status quo.
And pro-Amarinder.
And I don't know pro-Amarinder, but generally seen to be someone who doesn't want to rock the boat. On the other hand, you've got Rahul Gandhi, whose
original choice was Pratap Singh Bajwa, remember?
Whose original choice was Pratap Singh Bajwa and has generally been, keen to sort of bring in a new guard into the Congress, as he keeps repeatedly saying. And you've got Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, who by all accounts seems to have a fondness for Navjot Singh Sidhu. So what do? Here is Captain. My point is, why was this not resolved a year ago? You are now doing it 5 months before an election. Harmeet is right, in the middle of a serious farm agitation which carries on in Punjab. It's a border state and it's your only real state where you have a hope in hell in North India at the moment. I'm not including Rajasthan.
You had a hope in hell, Mr. Sipal.
No, I still think they have a hope in hell, but they've got to get their act together.
If they fight in the way that it does, in the way that they're doing right now, given the farmer agitation and the mood in rural Punjab, they're just creating the grounds for the Aam Aadmi Party to rise, because people in any case are disaffected with the Akalis. The BJP is now out of the picture and you've got the Congress that is disintegrating. Congress under Captain Amarinder Singh could have led the Congress party back to power, but now they're creating their own goals. A lot of this, Mrs. Appal, is just the Congress's own doing. Rajdeep asks a very important question. You should have resolved this last year instead of allowing this fracas to drag so close to the elections.
Well, it does seem that with all this media attention, it's a sensitive issue, but whatever letter you've just mentioned, my information says that the formula, the peace will be prevailing very soon and the party will be contesting unitedly. I don't see any implosion or anything coming across.
So your chief minister has just written to the Congress president asking her to back off and not interfere in the administration of Punjab, that this would be damaging both to the government and to the party.
I seriously doubt the language that you've been using.
The language is mine, but sure. The language is mine, but that's the sense.
Because internal matter, bringing to the notice of Congress president is a normal thing in Congress party. The deliberations have been going on for several weeks now. And I think the announcement is...
Raghav Chadda, if Navjot Singh Sidhu exits the Congress, would the Aam Aadmi Party be willing to take him? Are you at the... Does Sidhu get extra confidence because you got a parallel line out with Navjot Singh Sidhu and you're hoping to woo him in case it doesn't work out for him? So if he can't bat for the Congress franchise, he can come and pad up for the AAP franchise in Punjab.
No, look, first of all, I refuse to comment on individuals. I did not comment on Mr. Sidhu or any individual in my previous appearance on this show. I will not even now. However, I will say this, that these are hypothetical questions. I can only answer whether we'll open the door for a particular gentleman only if that particular gentleman is standing on our right outside our door. If that person is not outside our door, the question is a hypothetical question. I don't wish to answer that. However, the bigger question is that the Congress party, which is in a self-destructive mode, has to face polls in the next few months. All MLAs of the Congress party, when they met the 3-member committee headed by Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge, said that the 18-point agenda with which we went into the elections in the year 2017 has not been fulfilled. Not even a single manifesto promise out of those 18 promises have been fulfilled. How will we face the next election? The question is, can the Congress actually make good all the promises that they made? 2, can they actually rein in this, this infighting and present, a formidable challenge to any political outfit in the state of Punjab, etc.? And I feel the answer to that is no. I had pointed this out last time also, Rahul, and I will say once again at the sound of, at the sake of sounding repetitive, that when these tall leaders fight, the fight does not merely happen at the top level. Their cadre, their supporters, their workers fight at the district level. Then they fight at the halka level. Then they fight at the booth level, then at the pind level. So the fight is not merely at the top level. There are 8 warring factions. Again, you are mentioning 2 people. Bajwa is another faction. Sukhi Randhawa is another faction. Channi is another faction. There are 8 factions. 8 of these factions are fighting among themselves, not merely at the top, but at every level in the organization.
Hold that thought.
Therefore, this is a sure recipe for disaster as far as the Congress is concerned. My only disappointment with all this is the fact that governance has been a casualty. Governance has been a collateral damage in this whole Sidhu versus Captain fiasco.
I once asked Captain Amarinder Singh what would happen, and this is before the 2017 elections when there was a similar situation, wasn't certain whether he'd be projected as chief minister. There was some talk of him being unhappy. I asked him what would happen if he didn't have his way. He said that the Gandhis and the High Command know what I will do if I don't get it the way that I want. So he left it there. But if you ask people around him, they would convey with no uncertainty that if Sidhu is thrust as Pradesh Congress chief in Punjab, Captain Amarinder Singh can back off, he can pull away, he can potentially even form his own front. Do you think that's likely, Harmeet? Is that just posturing? Will the captain go that far?
Captain can go that far because, the letter that he has written if it is as terse as it sounds, it reminds me of the letter he wrote to Indira Gandhi when Operation Blue Star happened. And that time he was the only gentleman who quit Congress party. And remember that happening when Indira Gandhi was in power. So this letter in fact is a clear-cut warning to the Congress High Command, number 1. Number 2, the content of the letters, if he says that there is some sort of interference, it does cater to Punjab voters' psyche. There is a strong sentiment in Punjab that Punjab has always been subject to Delhi's interference. So he is in fact echoing the Akali line when the Badals are down. So this letter, I think it does compound trouble for the Congress High Command here in Delhi.
Interestingly, if you recall, history repeats itself. Before the 2017 elections also, there was this question mark, will Captain be formally anointed or not as the face? There was talk that time of Mr. Bajwa being promoted by Rahul Gandhi. Captain made it clear. I'm told that if I'm not
it's me or the highway.
I move out. And in 2014 also, there are letters that Captain has written to Sonia Gandhi then also, when he felt that, he was being undermined in the state. Look, this is someone who believes at some level his self-image still is of the Maharaja of Patiala, and importantly of someone who's led the troops.
But that's true.
Which is true.
He won in 2014 in Amritsar. He led the Congress to power in 2017 on his own steam.
Absolutely, look at it. From 2014, and Harmeet can correct me, this is the one state where every election, even at the height of the Modi wave, even before pre-farmer agitation, Congress has been winning. From local elections to state elections to the Lok Sabha. This is the state where the Congress has been winning. So Captain has every right to say, look, you have a problem with my style of functioning, that's one part. But I'm winning elections, right? It's a bit like Yediyurappa today at the end of the day. People may have a problem with his style of functioning, but so long as he's the winner, you can't easily remove a Yediyurappa.
Ramesh Vinayak, what's your sense of how this battle is likely to end? Will Captain Amarinder rebel form his own front? Is that likely, or is that just posturing?
Rahul, this letter that Amarinder has reportedly written to the High Command, it definitely complicates the whole situation. He has apparently toughened his stand, and he is actually standing up to the High Command and, reading the riot act, that you can't overrule me with regard to elevation of Navjot Singh Sidhu as PCC chief. So I think, it will be very difficult for High Command to now broker a peace deal which would accommodate, Amarinder's kind of concerns and also Sidhu's ambitions. So I don't think that
which way will the Congress High Command go if it comes to that, Rajdeep? Now it's very clear, as I've been saying from the first day, you need to pick one captain. You have to have one person padding up. You can't have both these people on the same side. They clearly don't like each other.
They're going to have to find a way. You see, that's what
No, there is no way.
No, you're going to have to find a way.
What way can you find?
Look, I think captain is more than willing to have Sidhu, for example, as the campaign chairman. You see, PCC president means the entire ticket distribution you will control.
But Sidhu won't be happy with campaign chairman.
Look, Sidhu has to also recognize that his time will come. You have to bide your time. There is no doubt that Navjot Singh Sidhu...
You made him the 12th man. He says, I want to be captain.
No. Navjot Singh Sidhu, Rahul, has entered the Congress at the end of 2016. He's only been there for about 5 years, right? He spent 13 years in the BJP. Now, of course, Captain himself also left the Congress for an extended period before returning. But at the moment, Sidhu may be a charismatic leader who you need at election time, but you also have a winning captain or a general, as you call him, who's been in charge.
Sidhu has no administrative experience of the kind that captain has.
You're going to have to find a role for Sidhu, and you're going to have to find a role for captain. And I think it's not impossible, but because you have such a weakened high command that is unable to take decisions, both captain and Sidhu believe that this is open season. This is open season in a sense. This letter clearly suggests that Captain Amarinder Singh believes that the High Command cannot in a way dictate terms to him anymore. He's asserting his authority, his autonomy, much like Yediyurappa does in the context of the BJP in Karnataka. Now, this is the age of these regional satraps and a weak High Command. You cannot resolve Punjab sitting in Delhi. This is the problem. In the past, you could. Today, you can't have a 3-member committee as the Congress had and expect to resolve these issues. They have to be resolved in the ground by getting... I am amazed, Rahul, that until now, no effort has been made to get Captain and Navjot Singh Sidhu to sit in the same room with Sonia Gandhi. I'm sure if they sat for 2-3 hours, they might find a solution. But at the moment, even that is very difficult. And now the longer it goes, it gets more difficult. Now it's becoming very difficult.
I've been saying from the first day it's very difficult. That time you were hoping that there'll be reconciliation.
No, I'm not hoping. I believe it's not rocket science. I believe a political party's role is conflict management. And this was something which political parties are adept at doing. You manage relationships, as you said that time, you manage people and ensure that they all work towards a common goal. Sidhu needs the Congress to win, to have a future. I don't think he can go to AAP.
Why not?
Because I think for all the brave talk that Raghav Chadha is giving, Raghav Chadha will also realize how...
No, but that's later. See, one second. Once he comes and we just bring Raghav on the screen, I'll explain the AAP strategy and I want to see what Raghav says. The Aam Aadmi Party, I understand, realizes that Navjot Singh Sidhu will be difficult to handle. That he rebelled against Azharuddin back in the day and he and Arvind Kejriwal will not likely get together. But if he enters the AAP, AAP gets a face, they get a genuine Jat Sikh face, a popular character, and somebody who makes it an even fight and he helps them. Now, what happens after the election? Can Raghav Chadha and Kejriwal deal with Sidhu? No one knows. As we've seen both in the BJP and the Congress, it's a tough ask. But it does get AAP a huge leg up ahead of the Punjab elections. I've given my analysis. Raghav Chadha, give me yours.
Look, first of all, Rahul, if you were to today commission a survey in the state of Punjab, you will find that people say, we have tried the Congress, we have tried the Akali Dal, we want to try Aam Aadmi Party this time. There is an overwhelming groundswell of support for the Aam Aadmi Party. We committed several mistakes in the 2017 elections, I agree. And as a result of which, from a winning position, we came crumbling down and we got a handful of seats and we still managed to become the principal opposition in the state of Punjab. Today, we are cognizant of all the mistakes that we made in 2017. We're aware of that. We are much wiser. We're much mature. And therefore, I feel that the people of Punjab wish to give Aam Aadmi Party a chance, irrespective of the leader that we declare as our chief ministerial
while
face.
there is some support,
it is the vote.
getting a face will make it even stronger and will make a stronger case for AAP. Yeah?
Of course, and of course, I agree with you. But the vote is for Kejriwal. The vote is for Jhadu. The vote is for Aam Aadmi Party. I understand that there are presidential style elections that are happening every now and then in this country. And unfortunately, elections have become about two big three faces colliding with one another. But the sentiment in Punjab today, Rahul, and I say this after traveling the length and breadth of the state, and I'm supposed to go there tomorrow, I can tell you that the sentiment is that we want AAP. We want the third alternative. We want to try them irrespective of the faith.
Does it give their campaign a fillip?
No, I'm not too sure about it because
Why not?
Raghav used the word overwhelming. I think this adjective I'm not too sure about is. In the first place, let's understand that there is a huge farm agitation happening, and this farm agitation, in fact, originated in Punjab.
That's the X factor of this election.
And let's be very clear. This farm agitation has now the moral authority, is acting as a moral authority. All these farm unions, there are 32 of them from Punjab itself, and they have emerged as a strong coalition of different political ideologies, and yet they are together. So they didn't even spare Chaduni, who spoke about joining the electoral fray. They suspended him for a week. So that's the high moral ground that these farm unions have taken in Punjab.
No, but politically they're very disparate. They don't think similarly when it comes to political ideology. You got left groups there, you got centrists there.
And that's the beauty. Conversely, that's the beauty.
Beauty is good when you're running an agitation, but when it comes to actually trying to mobilize votes, you're pulling in different directions, Harmeet.
No, that's the thing. These different unions, they will decide. They are not, revealing their cards as of now. The message will go from, this is my understanding, by word of mouth.
Like it goes from the Gurdwaras of the SGPC.
Yes, by word of mouth, who to support, who not to support. It's not, that they...
But there the Aam Aadmi Party last time was seen as having the backing of Khalistani elements.
No, that was, I think, again, Congress and Akalis. They join hands together, and this happens in Punjab. Whenever you need consolidated Hindu votes, you take out this bogie of Khalistan and you start playing the dugdugi, and then you get overwhelming support of Hindu voters. That happens.
But that was a mistake they made in the past. Are they likely to try and avoid that? Have you learned from that lesson in 2017 where Kejriwal went and even dined with some separatist leaders with a very dubious track record, and that boomerang for you in Punjab?
Look, Rahul, we were victims of a very ruthless propaganda that was spread by all the parties that we were facing in the Punjab elections. They tried to propagate as if we are flirting with the extremists, etc., which was certainly not the case. We're a party where our national president, where the convener of the party is a Hindu, he's a Baniya. It's beyond one's comprehension. But let me say this, that it's not my claim or my allegation, Rahul. Naresh Gujral, who's a senior Rajya Sabha MP of the Akali Dal, a very senior leader of the SAD, said a few days ago that the BJP compelled us, as well as the BJP's own cadre, to shift their own vote, to transfer their own vote to the Congress party in 2017 to stop the Aam Aadmi Party from winning. In the first past the post system, the only challenger of the Congress
we'll talk about that. Mr. Sappan, I'm out of time.
Therefore, they transferred the
I'm going to give you 20 seconds, but I'm out of time. Quickly, sir, please conclude.
Yeah. But I think Raghav should also consider that it's not just Vidhan Sabha election. AAP was wiped out in Lok Sabha election, and in local bodies, Congress won almost 75%.
Sir, आप तो अपनी team ठीक करो. You're worried about the opposition. Your guys are fighting amongst themselves.
It's not about. We will come out with a positive solution. Don't worry. But issue is.
Sir, I don't need to worry. So one second. I must tell you this.
I was being positioned as this thing.
Mr. Sappal,
in a different paradigm. You see.
Sappal Saab, I must tell you this. I don't need to worry. It's the Congress that needs to worry. Congress supporters need to worry because this could be, in the end, a classic case of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. There was no opposition in the fray. You've made this match exciting. Rajdeep and I love nothing more than an exciting election. You've given us the juice that we were looking for. You will ensure that this turns out to be a T20 match that goes down to the wire, and we love that as News Hounds. As far as politics is concerned, you've played every trick in the book which says how not to prepare for an election. Book Lessons 101, provided, crafted, scripted by the Congress party. It's very unfortunate that it's happening in the way that it is, but it does make Rajdeep this election exciting.
Oh, it does. I mean, I think it's fascinating because, I keep reiterating this point. 2022, to my mind, is, we keep saying it, but I'm going to reiterate, do or die here for the Congress. If they start, if they cannot... No,
where is the do? There's no do.
But no, in all those states, those are opportunity states for the Congress. If you keep losing, somewhere down the line, what happens next?
I have a feeling that we'll have a lot of opportunity, much more than we'd originally planned to talk about Punjab. And that's a good thing. We love elections, we love politics. So we're going to slip into a break for the time being. Ramesh Vinayak, Mr. Sappal, please find a solution. Thoda cheti karo, otherwise this is going to end up in a very, very messy end. Raghav Chadha, of course, loves it. I'm telling you, he's secretly sending lots of laddus. I'm just not certain where he's sending them to. Are more laddus going to Captain or Sidhu? Because they've really lit this election up and made it easier for AAP than it would have been otherwise. Rajdeep, we have a show to prepare for, so I want to not hold you back. Ramesh Vinayak, thank you for joining our panel. Great having you. I'm slipping into a break, more on the other side. Stay with us. We're back in a moment.